been in the Army for 27 years, very diverse background, and really looking forward to opportunity like we have already today to learn from people and to share my points of view and ideas as well.
How did, I guess I'll start with this. Did you learn anything new? What did you learn new today, or did you learn anything new, or anything particular that struck a chord, maybe first thing that kind of pops in your head?
Yeah, my two objectives coming up here were again to learn or to hear what other people's opinions were on social media and this thing of virtual, and do virtual tribes exist. And so I knew coming up here, particularly talking to the gentleman over there in the corner, Dr. Jim Embry, that this would be a very eclectic group of people that would bring very different perceptions and opinions and definitely expertise to the topic. So I would say, first of all, that's met my expectation, and that's what I've learned the most is there's definitely a different way of looking at this issue that Mr. Giovanni brought up was, do virtual trials exist, and if so, how do they, and what can we learn from them? The second thing is I'm a new faculty member up at the War College, and again I work in the Peacekeeping Stability Operations Institute, and so again I want to leverage what discussions, points were brought up here today and take them back with us, because at Carlisle Barracks one of the primary functions of the Peacekeeping Stability Operations Institute is to help not only the Army but the whole joint force, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, with how they do those operations. So I'm hoping maybe taking a couple gold nuggets back from here and doing that. And I assess at the end of day one here that that's definitely on track to do that.
Tell me, what would one of those gold nuggets be, maybe today, just pick one, maybe expound on it a little bit.
I thought Mr. Giovanni's comment about why is, as an example, jihad doing this. We talked about the recruitment piece of it, and the second was using it as a strategic weapon. And so I'm still trying to fleece through or try to think through of, if in fact Mr. Giovanni is correct that it's a strategic weapon, how can we target that weapon through what we do up at Carlisle Barracks at the Peacekeeping Institute. Once you're in these virtual tribes or participating in these virtual tribes, what is the authentication process? How do you know if they're being forthright or not? And so that gave me great pause to go back and think about that I think the digital or the virtual tribes do exist, but if they do exist, what's the ulterior motive? And then how can you, or whoever's doing these assessments on these tribes, know if it's really valid or not? On a personal note, I'm not very tech savvy. I'm very basic with social media in general. So for me, as a opportunity to broaden my horizons and to take away something personally from this, not just going back to the War College and imparting upon some of the things we learned here today, but for me, this has been a great opportunity to interact with, again, the eclectic group of people here, but also to become a little bit more savvy with what social media is about and what virtual stuff is about. I came with two objectives when I came to the course, was to hear and share ideas with the group, and then secondly, to take maybe some lessons learned from those people or from the curriculum and take them back to the Army War College at Carlisle and see how we could apply them. So the first objective was definitely met. An eclectic group of people, military, DoD civilians, contractors, academians, just a great variety of people that had different ideas. As I said previously, my exposure to digital, cyber, social media is minimal, probably at the rudimentary level, so I definitely learned a lot of things from those people here today, both the participants and then a lot of the, we'll call them lecturers or persons that facilitated the dialogue. So from that perspective, it was good. And the second objective was to take some things back to Carlisle possibly, or at least to edify myself, to make me a better person up at Carlisle, and I felt that objective was met as well. Primarily, going back to one of the questions was posed yesterday, is why do people use social media? And what I took away mostly from that is it's to influence people. And so the takeaway from the discussions and some from the tools and enablers that we received is how can I shape those influences out there, maybe to, at the current level that I'm dealing with, is just a strategic level, is what can I possibly do to assist with strategic type shaping, policy type shaping, and just as important, impart that information to maybe students or fellow instructors up at the War College. So again, at the end of the day, I felt these last 2 days were well spent, and I want to revisit that first point from the perspective of just meeting these people. I thought everybody was open, was very kind and was in a kind of a dialogue approach where they listened to what you had to say because they knew that I and the other people there respected what they had to say. The easiest thing for me to remember crystal clear would be the Adobe class that we got yesterday. Is all these social media are out there. So what do we do with it? What do we do with that data, and how can we analyze it? I never even thought to do that. So now that you even think about doing it, is how do you do it? And Adobe provided one way, which was their tool they had, and walked us through a practical exercise and all this filter. So I thought that the analysis of social media and how you do that was probably, to me, one of the most easy things to articulate here this afternoon.